Hello everyone, Mike of MMA with Friends, and we are on the eve, finally, of Conor McGregor versus Cowboy Cerrone, UFC 246. There's been a lot of talk, of course, about the demise of Conor McGregor, the distractions, and now the resurgence of Conor McGregor. A man that looks focused, a man that sounded more cerebral than we've seen him in quite some time. A man that just, it's hard to recognize him from an interview 6 months ago with Ariel Helwani. And as always, with a corner opponent, what we've had is we've had his opponent outshined. And this is a guy that hasn't really been outshined by anybody in a very, very long time. And definitely not outshined to the point of almost being ignored. Almost being ignored. And you can't argue that. I don't really see how you can argue that. He was there. Cerrone was there. I loved what he did with the cowboy hat. I loved how he kind of came. He kind of came, but he didn't. It was like he was going to let Conor sit there and talk to himself and get in his own head. He certainly wasn't going to let Conor get in his head. So I thought that was a really bright move. On the point of Donald Cowboy Cerrone. And I did a video that said Conor McGregor lost the press conference. Will he lose the fight? A lot of people, there was a lot of blowback or some blowback. People like, how can you lose a press conference? Conor sounds better than ever. What does Conor need to be Conor? What's going on, baby peach? 3-piece and a soda, says Conor, fake nice guy. Hard to argue with that. It definitely seems like a very different person. Not doing anything really different or much different than what we've seen Jon Jones do in the past and Dana White covering for him. Very ominous during the press conference. For those of you that didn't watch the press conference, what's going on, Seven? For those of you that didn't watch the press conference, there was a reporter there, an African-American gentleman, who asked about, allegations, about sexual assault allegations. And, of course, there's been a lot talked about this. Maybe more here in the United States than in Ireland, where the gag rules are. There's several accusations. Several times he has had accusations against him, much like Jon Jones, and it was very, very ominous in just how, during the last Jon Jones press conferences leading up to the Thiago fight, the crowd booed him. Dana White, shut down this reporter, basically told him, STFU. It's really what he did without saying the words. They already talked about that. We're not going to talk about that. He protected Conor exactly the same way that he did Jon Jones. It worked the first time. It worked this time. But, very, very ominous and very, I would say, Conor McGregor, very Jon Jones-esque. It's almost like he studied him. It's almost like, besides thanking God and thanking Jesus, he really did a pretty good Jon Jones impression coming out. Now, the people that had prop bets on this, they were maybe not real happy because you had prop bets out there. I don't know how many of you guys looked at prop bets. Probably a lot of you for the fight, maybe not so much for the press conference. There were some really interesting prop bets during the press conference, and one of them I wanted to pull the trigger on was how many times would Conor say the F-bomb. The over-under was 6.5. I don't think he said it one time. I think you maybe had Cowboy with 5 or 6 F-bombs, and that was it. We had the weigh-in today, pretty much non-eventful. Conor was late to the press conference as usual, 30 minutes. That's to be expected. But can a cerebral Conor McGregor fight Cowboy Cerrone? Does he want to be this civilized businessman? Is this what Conor needs to get up for this kind of fight? Some guys, compared to other sports, you have guys like Terrell Owens, very flamboyant, very braggadocious. Guys like Richard Sherman. These guys, when they're out there, they would be the first to tell you that they're not just trash talking to their opponents. They're trash talking to get themselves up. They're trash talking to get themselves up for the moment. I know this kind of things because I've used this, on employees and on crews and on myself. Coming up in the grocery world on a freight crew in big days. You have big things, and I would really get into guys and, challenge guys to races and pit guys against each other. And sometimes not, maybe it wasn't the most ethical thing sometimes looking back at it, but that's how we grew a very small company into a big company. And that's what you've seen with the UFC. Look here at the Conor. Thank you, Rob Iman. Hey, it is nice to be back. It is nice to see you guys back. It is nice to have the UFC back. Got a lot of things done. Got a well-needed break, much-needed break over the holidays, and I'm re-energized, recharged, and refocused. A few wins, so immediately started acting like a pompous ass again, says 3Bs. Who does he call out? That's the interesting thing. I think it's leaning towards Masvidal. The prop bets are slightly leaning towards Masvidal. Something very interesting I want to ask you guys, though. This fight is being challenged at 170. I'm very happy for this for a lot of reasons. We don't have to see these guys cut unnecessary weight. Cowboy Cerrone thanked, Conor during the press conference for making it at 170, because basically Conor, when Conor fights, he tells the UFC what to do. The UFC doesn't tell him what to do. He tells them what to do, right? And sure. Why shouldn't it be that way? Cowboy's only had 38 fights in the UFC or whatever insane amount it is. Why not let Conor decide everything for the UFC? And then decide that after he fights at 170, he's the number one contender at 155 and 170, both weight classes. Sure, why not? The guy hasn't won a fight in, several years. And I'm not even trying to hate on the guy. I am happy to have him back. It brings in numbers. It brings in fans. It brings in the hardcore and the casual. Conor McGregor is must-see TV. Whether you love him or hate him, you can't look away. It's, whether you want to see that beautiful destruction or you're looking for the train wreck, you're still watching. You're still watching. Right? I wish he was calling these Titan games, huh? Titan games. What are the Titan games? Like Tennessee Titans? I'm not sure what you're saying. Sorry. Maybe McGregor versus Covington. I think McGregor gonna stay a welter. He looks very big. He looks good at 170. Cowboy looked good too. Conor looked bigger though. Conor's frame looked bigger. Young David walked into the room during the weigh-in here a little while ago, and he goes, "Wow, Dad, that looks like Super Saiyan Conor." And I kind of did, compared to the Conor at 155. And could you imagine this guy fighting 145 again? He said don't rule out him fighting at 145 against Jose Aldo. That's not happening. Come on. Smart to throw a lot of different names and fighters out there. He's keeping his name in the news. And that's what he's always done. But I will give credit where credit is due. He looks phenomenal. They said, he took a year away to work on his boxing, work on his fitness, work on his cardio. Never mind that he was suspended for a lot of that time. Let's just act like Conor McGregor took all that time off just to, work on his beach bod. But no, he does look good. He looked like he used that time wisely. Even his feet did not look swollen. I believe I seen him working out barefoot. I didn't see any swelling. I don't know about you guys. I did not see a balloon in sight. It's being guaranteed the next title fight if he wins. Totally ridiculous. 100 on camera. Yeah, it is totally ridiculous. And how he would jump past Justin Gaethje. And if I'm not mistaken, just a few weeks ago, they were talking about Justin Gaethje possibly getting that next shot, or Justin Gaethje fighting Conor McGregor, for the title elimination. And basically, it's like they just went to Conor. It's like they waited to listen to hear what he had to say. Well, what does he want to do? Does he want to fight for a title? Does he want to fight Justin Gaethje? What do you want to do, Conor McGregor? By the way, how many people believe... let's toss $80 million your way for a non-title fight against a guy that's got knocked out in his last 2 fights. Why not? And guys, I told myself that I was not going to come before you today and have an hour Conor McHater show. But I'm kind of more hating on the UFC. I don't blame Conor for a lot of this stuff. I don't blame him one bit. If he's coming there, it's the UFC's fault for listening, for basically letting him jump right back in the driver's seat. He says he made $50 million for Khabib, and then he expects to make $80 million for this fight. I don't have an issue with him making any amount of money. I like to see fighters make a lot of money. I just want to see it be spread around more. I hope Cowboy's getting his red panty night. He said he wasn't. This was a while back, that these red panty nights weren't what Conor had said they were. By the way, I didn't know this. Fun fact. Go on your computer and Google red panty night, and what comes up on Wikipedia. I thought this was like some kind of saying that Conor was using. It was like a regular saying. And maybe it is or was. But now what I'm saying, you go and type in red panty night, what comes up is the definition. And I believe it's an dictionary definition, and the Wikipedia definition. It says red panty night is something Conor McGregor called when he comes out because everybody makes a ton of cash. Well, I'm going to take my cash. I'm going to get more ad revenue for this. Ads are paying more for these fights. My advertisers are paying me more. Grubhub's paying me more for these fights. I've had a few other sponsors, approach me. We have a couple new sponsors that I'll have on the new show, or on the show starting tomorrow, that we'll talk about. So Conor's been good for business. For everybody. I'm not complaining about that part. I think Cerrone retires after this fight. To walk out would be dope. McGregor versus Masvidal, biggest money fight. I believe so too. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for Cerrone to win this fight, though. Let's talk about the actual fight. And I'm going to brush on one thing really quick, and then I'm going to brush it out of the way. Because I just want to talk about it. I don't think anybody else is going to be really interested, because nobody wants to hear people talk about their dreams. It's one of the lamest things out there. I know, but I have to tell you guys. A couple nights ago, I had a dream. It seemed very, very real. And I was watching Conor versus Donald Cerrone. And when I woke up, I thought I had just watched the match. And I'll tell you what happened. And in my dream, they fought like I would expect for them to fight. In round 3, Donald Cerrone threw a body kick. He'd thrown several body kicks, and this body kick knocked the wind out of Conor McGregor, and he crumbled to the ground. And in my dream, Donald Cowboy Cerrone wins by knockout through a body kick. That is not out of the realm of possibilities whatsoever. Does anyone have a link? Says Slugger. Well, the fights aren't on yet. You still have a little bit of time for this. This is just the pre-show. This is just the pre-fight show. Conor has a far bigger skill set than Masvidal. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Conor's a great boxer. He was able to stave off Nick Diaz's jiu-jitsu. He was able to cut angles on Nate Diaz. He really made Nate Diaz look like a fool. Did Jorge Masvidal. I don't know that he's going to have a huge size advantage over Conor right now. Remember, Masvidal fought at 155 as well. So that seems, like kind of a natural, like they're both at kind of a natural weight. So that's kind of cool. Slugger, you're a casual. The fights are not tonight, sir. Obviously, you are Conor, has no cardio and no ground game. Masvidal is fighting Usman next. I don't think they've made that officially. A little bit, I know this is the UFC 246 pre-show, but I got to touch on a few little things for the hardcores, for the regulars that are in here right now. And this is two things. This is why, guys, why are we doing rankings at this point? So you have Conor McGregor, and this is not even really about Conor McGregor, but I'm going to throw this out there. He hasn't won a fight in how long? If he wins one fight at 170, he'll be the number one contender in a whole another weight class, maybe both weight classes. Now let's look to two guys that I love, I respect, I want to see these fights, but Jose Aldo and Yoel Romero are both coming off of losses. Both of them controversial. One of them, Yoel, I thought he won his fight. Jose, I actually scored that fight for Moraes, but I thought it was very close. What are we doing with the rankings here? If out of the next 3 title shots, possibly, if Conor got a title shot, 3 of the belts up for debate this year, the 3 possibly first title fights, would feature 3 challengers on a combined 1-fight win streak. 1-fight win streak for 3 guys. That's a bit preposterous. And I love Jose Aldo and I love Yoel Romero, but I don't love those fights. Talk about casual. Slugger thought it was fight night. Yep. Conor's taking all the belts, says Joe for real. He might. I don't think he could beat Kamaru Usman. I think that's a horrible matchup for him. I think Kamaru Usman would be like fighting a bigger Khabib for him. And maybe a better striking Khabib. You've seen how he struck with Colby Covington. In a fight, I believe Colby Covington was winning. But nonetheless, he struck very well in that. Broke Colby's jaw because Colby can't keep his damn mouth shut. Let's talk about how Conor and Cowboy match up here just for a second, though. Cowboy throws a lot of kicks. I talked about that body kick knockout possibility for Cowboy. It is possible. Let's talk about Conor's stance. He brought in old boxing coaches. Coaches from when he was boxing way back in the day. I believe even before Cage Warriors. UFC. Oh, they're definitely hurting for pay-per-view revenue. There is no doubt, man. But he brought in these boxing coaches, and what do boxers do? Conor's looking for this possible rematch of Floyd. He's talking about fighting Manny Pacquiao. They put all that weight on their front foot. And what is Donald Cerrone's special weapon against Conor McGregor standing but that leg kick? You're going to do that leg kick again. Kaboom, kaboom, kaboom. A lot of things can happen because of that. Now, I've watched a decent amount of tape of both of these guys leading up to this. Several things can happen. Conor can get the knockout out of that leg kick. He definitely can. I've seen Cerrone, both in wins and losses, throw that low leg kick, fail to keep his guard up, fail to keep his left hand in, and get popped with a right hand over the top. Now, he is fighting a southpaw, so he doesn't have to worry about maybe getting popped with the overhand as much. But also, let's talk about one of the big reasons Donald Cerrone was chosen as the opponent is he has a horrible record with southpaws. He did not do good against Rafael Dos Anjos as a southpaw. He didn't do good against Nate Diaz. And now you have a guy that's main weapon is that straight left hand, which is one of the hardest things for Donald Cowboy Cerrone to deal with. And you have a guy whose strength is power and precision. You know, he always says speed and precision beats power or equals power. I believe he said both. Cowboy, he is a little slow and stiff. Conor had mentioned this several years back. As a welterweight, for a lot of these welterweights, he's not too slow. He's not so slow that he can't compete with a lot of these guys. But you're talking about one of the fastest punchers ever. Look how he hit Jose Aldo with that counter. He could definitely do that same thing to Cerrone. 18th, 6 a.m. UK time. Main event starts here. Nice. Is there a stripper girl showing up soon? Somebody can slug her calendar. No strippers tonight. I don't think you guys want to see me strip. I really don't. Let's talk more strippers. Like, hey, Mike, what do you think about Conor saying he's making $80 million? I think you would pull $80 million. Dana didn't seem fazed by that number. What I will say from that is Dana's never made salaries public in the past. The only salary I really recall him talking about was the natural Randy Couture and his $10 million payday against Chuck Liddell. And that was because Randy brought it up first during lawsuits. So then they had to talk about it. I think Conor, it's kind of like Money Mayweather. I don't think Dana wants everybody talking about how much money they make, but when they see Conor talking about making all this money, I don't understand completely the mathematics to it, but it does something to our brain that it makes us want to contribute to that big pile of gold. I don't know what it is. I don't know about you, but are you guys getting this fight? I'm getting this fight. Whether I was broadcasting or not, I'm getting this fight. I dropped my $100 on Conor versus Mayweather. For that crappy boxing match. When Floyd went from Pretty Boy Mayweather to Money Mayweather, saying, hey, I'm making all the money in the world, pay-per-view sales went through the roof. It's like people subconsciously wanted to be part of something. We're going to make this guy a millionaire. We're going to make this guy a billionaire. As Conor also recently said that within 5 years, he'll be a billionaire. I don't know if that's true. I kind of doubt it, but depends on how that whiskey does. It'll be matured within 5 years, most likely. It's certainly not mature right now. It shouldn't even be on the market. It's not a finished whiskey. But he could get there by that time. Conor going to sleep Cowboy in the first. And he definitely could. Wait, let me get this straight. How many hours till the fight starts for you? Oh, excuse me. Till the fight starts for me, it is 6:24 p.m. Here in Seattle. So the main card will start in a little more than 24 hours. So I am doing this a full day before. I watched the weigh-in earlier today. I watched the press conference a couple days ago. Cowboy chokes every time in the big fights. Let's talk about the mind games. Let's go to Cowboy Cerrone. First of all, the press conference. The mistake that Conor McGregor made coming out and not being flamboyant, not going after Cowboy Cerrone, I believe that was a huge mistake because I believe that he had a real chance to put Cowboy on his heels here and really see how he reacted. Put him in the fire now. You guys know this is going to be a huge event. Every time Conor McGregor comes to the cage, it's a huge event. If Cowboy Cerrone is known for choking at huge events, why are you not making him nervous? Why are you being so friendly with him? I mean, so friendly. Cowboy talked more smack possibly than Cerrone did. He dropped more F-bombs anyways, which was unusual. Neither one of the guys really said much of anything bad about each other. Conor, a few good lines. I would beat him with the flu, and I can read Donald Cerrone like a kid's coloring book? A children's book. I believe he said I can read him like a children's book. And I think what he's talking about is that switch up from the leg kick to the head kick, which is Cowboy Cerrone, I think it's his big chance if he's going to win by knockout. He definitely could take Conor to the ground with that and go for a submission. Pretty much all of Conor's losses come by. If I'm not mistaken, I believe all of Conor's losses now have been by submission. He's got 3 losses in MMA. If you don't count the one in boxing, or is it 4? It's 3 or 4. I think it's 4 now. The Nate Diaz one, of course. So Jorge Masvidal, he lost. Jorge Masvidal. How am I saying that? Khabib Nurmagomedov. Not even the right weight class. And then back in Cage Warriors, he got choked out. He got caught in an armbar, and then I think he got choked out once. Correct me if I'm mistaken. He may only have 3. I'm not on the website right now. But Cowboys getting paid off. I've heard that from people. I've heard the Cowboys if anybody's going to get paid off, though, guys, do you think it's Cowboy? I mean, I know he fights a lot. He fights all the time, so obviously he likes money. Neither one of these guys have their alcohol. You didn't see any Budweiser with Cowboy. You didn't see any whiskey with Conor. And Cowboy definitely could have burned down that Budweiser and not really taken a sip, But that was interesting to not see either one of the 4 losses, all submissions. Thank you, Joe Rill. And 3-piece Minnesota. That's what I thought. I just wanted to be sure. Because I'd seen 4 losses. I wasn't sure if somebody was counting one of them as the Mayweather fight, which, of course, was not even an MMA fight. But Cowboy Cerrone, he's had those head kick knockouts. And he can go to the body. We've talked about Conor's cardio. You start going to the body early, especially against a Conor that's carrying so much more weight. Conor that says he wants to put in some rounds. I'm not so sure I believe that. If I'm in his camp, I'm telling him to finish this fight as quickly as possible. I don't think you really want to go deep with Cowboy. Not with the cardio he's shown in the past. But one thing he can do really well is he's got 3 levels of kicks. He throws those low leg kicks a lot, and then he'll fake you, and he'll either hit the head kick or sometimes the body kick. And I think he should land some of those body kicks. That leg is definitely going to be open for Cerrone because of how Conor puts all that weight on the front foot. He could swallow that leg up very quickly, possibly forcing Conor to switch stances or do different things. Not like Conor can really go for a takedown. I don't see Cerrone going for takedowns really early either. Conor's takedown defense it's not like it's horrible. Everybody's acting like Donald Cerrone can just walk right in there and pick Conor up and slam him on the ground and submit him like Khabib did, who couldn't do it till the 4th round, by the way. And he's probably 100 times the wrestler that Donald Cerrone is. Literally, he's one of the greatest wrestlers in the history of MMA. He definitely was able to take Conor down some, but he wasn't able to submit him till the 4th. Took a lot of shots, gave some shots, but to act like Conor doesn't have a great takedown defense, like he hasn't fought wrestlers like against Chad Mendes, who was a much, much, much better wrestler. McTapper, McCrackjaws, great boxer, sucky ground game. Absolutely, I can see why he would want to go to the boxing game. He's kind of been a boxer or a kickboxer. I would say kickboxer. In MMA, and he's got a decent takedown defense, but I'm going to compare him to somebody, and this might piss a lot of people off, and I'm going to compare him to one of my favorite fighters, because I want to talk about something that happened 30 minutes before the media weigh-in today. So before the media weigh-in today, they brought out an old Hall of Famer. I don't know if you guys seen it, and they gave him his jacket because they weren't available when he was inducted in 2009. That was one of my favorite fighters ever, the Iceman Chuck Liddell. Fought friend of the show Randy Couture 3 times. Just one of the best ever, but very similar style to Conor. He threw great kicks. He threw a great 1-2. He had, a really good takedown defense for the most part. He couldn't keep Randy from taking him down all the time. But, pretty good takedown defense. And I don't know if Conor has enough tools to get on top of the UFC in 2020 the way he did in 2016. I don't think it's the same sport it was even 4 years ago. You see Ronda Rousey really couldn't compete anymore. I mean, she could beat Miesha Tate, but loses to Holly Holm, gets dominated by Amanda Nunes, and if she fought a top contender after that, I think it would have been the same result. And I was a Ronda fan. For sure, Cerrone has the height, but Conor has a pretty big reach and knows how to use it. That's true. This is true, but let's talk about another thing. Cerrone's 4 inches taller. Cowboy's 5'8". He's used to fighting some pretty tall guys that he's landed that head kick on. And that body of Conor's, it's going to be at a great, a great distance. It's going to be at a great spot for Cowboy to land that body kick. We really haven't seen anyone do it, consecutively. I believe Dennis Seaver had a little bit of success with the body kick, if I'm not remembering incorrectly. I think both of those guys did. I know Conor landed some spinning back kicks and stuff. I think Dennis Seaver had some success to the body, a journeyman fighter. So Cerrone definitely could land some of those body kicks. Cerrone has the height, but Conor has a pretty big... let's get into some trivia. I see it looks like there is enough people in here to get into some trivia, and good to see some new faces. I'm not seeing the guys that were a lot of the regulars that were in every stream, and I'm seeing a lot of you guys that are in, basically every fight stream. But maybe not the Tuesday nights when we were doing the trivia. So everybody refresh your browsers. I'm going to throw some trivia questions out for you tonight. I have a lot more tomorrow night. Most of these will be based around the fighters fighting tonight. But go ahead and refresh your browsers, and I'll give you a few seconds. 3, 2, 1. All right, first question of the night. How much did Conor McGregor claim to make for the Khabib fight? For the Khabib fight, how much did Conor McGregor say he made? If anybody paid attention, he said it in the Ariel Helwani interview, and I think he might have said it during a press conference. And Conor's already breathing heavy. Comment of the night, 3-piece and a soda. I love it. Joe Real, you are real correct, sir. 1,000 points on the board for Joe Real. And let me know if you guys hear, I don't know if you guys hear the clapping or applause tonight. It was hard for me to tell if the desktop audio was going through and working tonight. 3-piece and a soda right after him, but Joe Real gets the first one. All right, guys. By the way, I'm going to be doing the entire card tomorrow. Entire UFC 246 card. I'm going to start at 3 p.m. Pacific and go all the way probably through to 11. I don't have to work, so we're looking at like an 8-hour stream tomorrow. All right, while everybody's browsers are still refreshed. What network or service was Conor McGregor's first UFC fight on? Where could you see Conor McGregor's first UFC fight? What channel or service was it on? Can't wait, no work, just UFC. Awesome, Quincy. Me too, man. I cannot wait either. What? It was not on Spike, Joe Real, believe it or not. He was in the prelims. That is a clue. What network or service was Conor McGregor's first UFC fight on? Was not on Fight Pass. This is not something they've used a whole lot. And I don't even think I remembered it. I think I heard it in the interview. In an interview maybe with Ariel Helwani, and it kind of refreshed my memory. Otherwise, I don't think I would have even remembered. Believe it was against Marcus Brimage. It was not on Fox. This is a weird one, guys. Getting excited for the fights. What's up, the Mecca Reynolds? What is up, my friend? Was not on Fox. For those of you just coming in, I'm going to ask the question one more time, and then I'm going to give the answer. What network or service was Conor McGregor's first UFC fight on? What's up, Kurt Noise? It was not on Bodog. First UFC fight. Was never any UFC fights on Bodog, as far as I know. Guys, I'm going to give you the answer. Believe it or not, it was on Facebook Stream. Was one of, if not the only time, the UFC tried to use Facebook to stream their prelims. Of course, PFL did that all through their first season. Streamed a lot of their stuff through their first season. It was Facebook Stream, something that, for whatever reason, has not came back. Maybe it's really expensive. You would think putting the prelims on some of these other networks, though, maybe an Amazon Prime, maybe a Hulu Live, some of these things, outside of other networks would definitely get them some more notoriety. What's up, Mr. Nice Guy? Yes, sir, Facebook. Right? I mean, I could have streamed it better on YouTube. Connor could have fought in my backyard. Like I invited Dutch Guy to do. But, no, that's a whole nother story. But, I know, Facebook, out of all things. I would not have guessed it either. I don't think if I wouldn't have gotten brung up again this week. All right, third question of the night. This fighter was fined $50,000 for throwing a water bottle in the lead-up to a fight against Conor. This fighter was fined $50,000 in the lead-up to his fight against Conor. Quincy, Panoa, it was Diaz. Everybody got Joe Rogan. A lot of people getting it. Quincy was first. Good job, Quincy. As I got to tell you, it is Dutch got scared. Yeah, I believe he did. I believe it. 3-piece and a soda. Who is this? Who were you before? Oh, I know who you were. Okay, never mind. I know who you were. You changed. You're a mod, but you changed since the last time you were on. So maybe let everybody else know. But next question. All right, Mr. Nice Guy, here we go. So Quincy gets Nate Diaz. The first one went to Joe Real, 2,000 points off the board so far. All right, guys. Let's go to some Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Donald Cowboy Cerrone. He talked about this on the Joe Rogan Experience. I think he talked about it on several other things, but he almost died during an activity. And if you get close, something about this activity, he almost died just a few years back. He was very close to dying doing this activity, says Sullivan. Thank you. Joe Real and Micah Reynolds. Exactly right. Cave diving. You are correct. Like I said, I don't know if my speaker system's working out. Can you guys hear clapping? If somebody just let me know, that would be appreciative. That way I know if I bring anybody in on Skype. Young David was in here messing with some stuff and unplugged some things. But Joe Real, 2,000 points on the board. He gets it first. And he is in the lead. All right, guys. Next question up. This former Conor McGregor opponent refused to do an anti-bullying campaign to avoid further punishment from the athletic commission that their fight happened in. Thank you, Seven. I think young David unplugged something over there. I'll have to work with it. Gonna be plowing snow during the fights. FML. Oh, that sucks. What's up, Scott? But Scott gets it. Great job, Scott. I will give you the treatment regardless, sir. And actually, what I can do is I can put it up on this other TV here. You guys should be able to hear this. Just maybe not as loud. There you go. Cheers for everybody. And cheers for everybody that gave the Super Chat this last year. You guys made 2019 a great year. This is the first time I've seen you guys since 2020. Tomorrow before the stream, make sure you show up early before the stream tomorrow, because I am going to give you guys my fighter of the year, my fighter of the decade, my fight of the year, my fighter of the decade, and some other awards. Also, finish of the year, finish of the decade. Going to give out a lot of awards, all the ones you guys voted on and more. For those of you that seen it in the community tabs, there's almost only something up to vote on in the community tabs. If you go to the community tab right now, we have the voting up for Conor McGregor versus Cowboy Cerrone. 160 of you have voted. 63% of you have Conor McGregor winning. 59% by finish, 4% by decision. 29% of you have Cowboy by finish, 8% have Cowboy by decision. Some of the awards that we'll talk about tomorrow night. Best Fighter of the Decade. Third place. Actually, I should say, let's say the five fighters that we had. Fifth place, Daniel Cormier with 7%. Fourth place, George St. Pierre with 10%. Conor McGregor, 13%. He came in third place. Second place was Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. And with 43%, number one fighter of the decade, you guys had John Jones. You can still vote on that. I still have that open. Knockout of the year, spoiler alert. I can't even act like this is going to be a dramatic build-up. You guys are just going to see what the 2 and 3 are in the honorable mentions. 81% of you had Jorge Masvidal over Ben Askren for the knockout of the year. Very obvious. A few honorable mentions were Kevin Lee over Gillespie, Shevchenko over Jessica I, and then it looks like one person maybe voting Cejudo over Dillashaw. And then Fighter of the Year, you guys also gave that to Jorge Masvidal resoundingly, 64%. Next closest, 22% was Israel Adesanya. 9% of you gave it to Henry Cejudo. 5% to Kamaru Usman. Just a quick update since we haven't talked for quite a while. Fantasy football. Congratulations to Adam Timmerman. Adam Timmerman won the first season of Fights with Friends at Fantasy Football, which is actually over on the other channel, Mike Sports Experience, where I do sports that's not MMA. People requested that I just do fighting on this channel, boxing and MMA, which for you boxing fans, of course, a big fight coming up for you guys soon. Heavyweight fight, Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. Absolutely credible. Joe Real says, John Jones fighter of the decade. A lot of people said Khabib. That one vote was Henry. So see the G, that's great. No more trivia. Just getting warmed up. We still got trivia, Joe Real. All right, everybody, refresh your browsers in case you fell behind for a second. And 3, 2, 1. Oh, wait, who got... I'm sorry. I got it. Here we go. This famous actor in the Marvel Universe has practiced traditional Wing Chun Kung Fu for 10 years. This came up recently. And sorry, Scott F. got the Khabib on the last one. So Scott F. is in the game with 1,000 points. This famous actor in the Marvel Universe has practiced traditional Wing Chun Kung Fu for 10 years. Joe, I'm going to give it to you on that. It is Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. I wasn't surprised to hear that he was doing some martial arts. I assumed it was probably jiu-jitsu or something, but to hear that he had the old Wing Chun dummy out and everything, that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool to hear about. So Joe Real gets it. And real quick, while everybody has their browsers refreshed, this real-life UFC fighter in the UFC right now also is famous for practicing on a Wing Chun dummy and is known for probably the most unorthodox training in the UFC. This guy kicks metal pipes. He does all kinds of crazy stuff. Joe Real again. You are correct, Tony Ferguson. Joe Real keeping it real and taking over for Billy Badass tonight. Billy not in here. I asked him. I thought he might even be on the co-show tonight. I thought he was coming in, but did not see him tonight. Not Anderson Silva, no. Oh, I believe he did as well, but he's not the one I was looking for. He may have as well. Metal leg. Yep. So Joe Real is running away with this one. All right, let's run to the world of boxing. And talk about a fighter with a very weird regimen. Coming up to a heavyweight championship bout. This fighter recently talked about masturbating 7 times a day to keep his testosterone up for a championship fight. I'm not making this up. This is a strange one. My wife was actually listening to a podcast and she heard it, and I had to rewind. I said, no, they didn't say that. And I had to rewind it. And this gentleman did say that to build up his testosterone, he was helping his, relieving himself 7 times a day. See the G, you sick bastard. You are correct. Tyson Fury. You must have listened to Joe Rogan's podcast with, who was it? Jimmy Dore. Ron Jeremy. That is a great guess, 3-piece in a soda. Great guess. All right. Talking about boxing. Conor McGregor has called out several different boxers. He says he wants to be a champion in boxing. He has called out a certain Italian fighter who has a history in bare knuckle boxing, though. What fighter did Conor McGregor say he would recently, said in the past, and recently say that he would be interested in fighting, that fought in the bare knuckle world? This guy is a former world champion. It is not Manny Pacquiao. He did say he wanted to fight Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao has never fought in the bare knuckle world, though. So think about the other guy in boxing that Conor's called out. Oh, Quincy already had it. Oh, no. 7 had it. I'm sorry, guys. It was Paulie. 7 had Paulie, and then Quincy had Mawanaji. So I was behind on my chat there. I'm a little rusty. So this is why I'm doing the thing the night before. Yep, 7 had it. Good job, 7. This is why I'm doing this the night before, so I can get some of the rust out, and why I'm going to start early tomorrow. You know, Joe Rogan talks about how he likes to do the prelims. He likes to do an entire event, which he does sober, by the way, unfortunately. But the UFC, I don't think, would like him to partake in alcoholic beverages, and definitely not in other substances, shall we say. But he says he likes that 8 hours. That way he gets a chance to warm up. I feel the same way. And it had been a long time since I had done a stream. I put out one video yesterday talking about that press conference. I will put out another predictions video since I didn't really give you a straight up prediction on Conor and Cowboy. That wasn't an accident. I will still be coming out with a video for that. But let's jump to the next question. All right, guys. Speaking of Chuck Liddell, if Conor fights Pac-Man and wins, it could help him rematch Floyd. If he beats Pac-Man, I'll pay for him to watch him fight Floyd again. I think that's the path. I think before people can really be interested the way they were in Conor fighting Floyd again, he has to beat another great boxer, and I don't think he beats Manny Pacquiao. I think Pacquiao would knock him out. But what's up, Steelers? Respect 90. Good to see you, my friend. Respect for the Steelers. Respect to my Seattle Seahawks that ran out of time against the Green Bay Packers. And congratulations to all you Packers fans, 49ers fans. Everybody that's still left in this thing. Upsets galore. The Patriots are out. The Ravens are out. The football world thrown upside down. But let's go back to the MMA world, because I know that's why everyone is here. And just one quick thing. Not here to guilt trip you guys ever in the least. But what I will say is these pay-per-views, they watch me. You guys have seen, they've suspended me. I just got a strike off my channel recently that I didn't tell anybody about because I was kind of afraid of getting set up by somebody, which can happen now in the YouTube world. So I didn't tell anybody. I had a strike actually for a stupid 11-second video I had put out there that was my mistake. That came off January 6th. But that super chat over there in the corner is always available. I greatly appreciate anytime you guys give to that, and everybody that's given to it in the past. Always put your guys' name up in lights, and thank you to everybody that donated throughout this last year. Really helped out with the costs and everything here. And speaking of the UFC, you know, they know that I pay for my pay-per-views, and I believe I'm in good standing with them right now. So I'd like to keep it that way, but of course they're not cheap. Really don't want to see a Conor and Floyd rematch. More UFC stars should get a chance to box Floyd or Manny. Jorge Hernandez. I want to see some of these boxers try MMA more, but we kind of know what's going to happen. It's going to be Randy Couture versus James Toney all over again. So, I know... Did somebody say more trivia? I think you said it in your house. I think maybe you didn't hear it. I heard you all the way out there, though. Alright, guys. Let's go back to the world of boxing. This legendary fighter, Hall of Famer, threw down the Puerto Rican flag on the ground and stomped on it and ran out of the arena just days before to promote a fight. He also bet against himself in this fight. Sold the advertising on his back for $100,000. Then bet on himself as a 4-1 underdog. Who is this crazy fighter that threw down the Puerto Rican flag in Puerto Rico? And I will give you a hint here in a minute. If nobody gets it, I'll tell you who he was fighting against at the time. You really hadn't heard of this fighter that was fighting him much at the time. It was not De La Hoya. This gentleman was fighting Felix Trinidad at the time. I believe he's 36 years old, and not a whole lot of people outside of hardcore boxing fans honestly even knew who he was before fighting Trinidad, who was the much more popular fighter at the time, and amazingly a huge favorite. He dominated Trinidad, by the way. Surprise, Conor made the 170 limit. Did you notice Cowboy looked slimmer compared to Conor? I did. I was talking about that. I was talking about how thick Conor looked. All right, guys. This is plenty of time to Google it. I'm going to give it up. It was B-Hop. The Executioner, Bernard Hopkins. He threw down the Puerto Rican flag while he was fighting Felix Trinidad. Then he sold the space on his back, painted the name of a casino on his back, sold that advertising space for $100,000, bet on himself at 4-1, and parlayed that into 400 G's. He has been a businessman since getting into business, with another guy you guys brought up, Joe Real, with Oscar De La Hoya, of course. But one of the true legends of the game. All right, let's throw another trivia question out there. Cowboy was walking with a limp on right leg. Really? That is interesting. I did not hear anything about that at all. Did anybody else notice this? I didn't notice this at all. I guess maybe I missed it. He did such a good job covering his face with that cowboy hat, which, by the way, was absolutely genius. He doesn't want all that attention. He does not like all that attention. And I thought he did a very, very good job of deflecting it. And Conor McGregor, he allowed him to. He allowed him to. He said it was nothing, says Joe Real. Oh, yeah, Cowboy said in an interview it was some kicking pads. Oh, so he addressed it. Yeah, I completely missed that. I know there's been so many pre-things out for this. There's a lot of them on YouTube, on Fight Pass, pre-fight press conference things. A lot of build-up to this, which is what we should be seeing tomorrow. 10 o'clock, probably sometime around in between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. Pacific, Conor McGregor and Cowboy Cerrone will enter the cage. They don't have to worry about that time limit anymore. Now that it's on ESPN, and they're not buying all that time from the cable companies, that's why it always had to end by 10 o'clock before, for all of you that didn't know. Now, the reason it doesn't have to end by 10 o'clock is they're on their own dime, and they don't have to. They were given a half of that money to those cable companies. Now they get a flat. It's been rumored the UFC gets a flat 500,000 buys from ESPN that they pay them. I don't know if that's paying them a full rate of 500,000 buys or what that is, what rate that's at. But if that's true, that's an amazing rate. Conor could lose 15 pounds in a week. He definitely could. There's no way Conor goes back down to lightweight this year. He has gotten bigger. Well, he talked about, the possibility of going back down to featherweight and fighting in a rematch with Jose Aldo. And, of course, Jose, he jumped to 135.
In a good spot. That's it. I don't think I've changed or altered or.
So,
committed and focused on
absolutely craziness. I'm kind of watching, if you can hear in the background. Looks like I'm okay with this Conor McGregor and Donald Cerrone press conference in the background. For those of you that can hear this, maybe didn't see it the first time.
Was there ever a thought in all that maybe you wouldn't be allowed to come back
I'm kind of just watching this in the background, and one of the members of the media here asking Conor if he thought he might not be able to get back into the country. Let's decipher that. Everybody knows about these sexual assault charges by now, and of course he said, I'm happy, the UFC, they're a great company. Look, the UFC has pulled a lot of strings for a lot of guys. John Jones getting 1 day of community service. Wei-Ling Zhang, the new female 125-pound champion that'll be taking on Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She was having an issue getting into the States, and then, the UFC pulled some strings. As soon as she won the championship, boom, no issues with the visa anymore after that. And then, remember years back, the deal with Quentin Rampage Jackson running his truck through town. I mean, he could have gotten a lot of time. He could have gotten a lot of prison time. And I don't believe anything ever happened to him that I heard of.
So, back here in Las Vegas.
And the UFC easily able to get Conor, get his visa. All these people that are trying to come to the United States to work and do all these great things, and you have a guy that's, assaulted a couple people in the States. Let's get into this. He broke somebody's phone. He slapped an old man. He's got several sexual assault charges against him, and apparently no problem getting back into the country. That doesn't surprise me. But Conor versus Jorge should be in the new Raiders Stadium in Las Vegas for BMF title. What do you guys think about Khabib? Speaking of that, I know we're talking about UFC 246 tonight, but what do you guys think about Khabib fighting in New York now and refusing to fight in Las Vegas? I think that makes that fight very interesting. What's up, you? I want to watch it. You want to watch the event? It's tomorrow, man. This is the pre-hype. We're getting in, and we haven't even talked about the rest of the fights on this card. Let's do that. There are some other fights on this card, believe it or not. You have Holly Holm coming back against Raquel Pennington. People are talking about Holly Holm getting another shot at the title if she beats Raquel Pennington. I don't think that would be deserved at all, but there you go. It is what it is. There's only so many people that can challenge, especially if it happened to be for 145 pound, which I have a feeling, unless that judo girl, Kayla Harrison from over in PFL, decides to make the jump at 145, that division's probably going to go away now that Cyborg's over in Bellator. But yeah, Raquel Pennington taking on Holly Holm. And then you have Alexei Olenek taking on Maurice Green. Maurice Green, he was a heavy favorite there for a while, I believe. This has tightened up quite a bit to almost even. Maurice Green's a plus 140 now. Alexei Olenek a plus 110. Anthony Pettis versus Diego Ferreira. Diego Ferreira, a huge favorite against the former Wheaties box boy, Anthony Showtime Pettis. And then the main card, the other fight is actually Brian Kelleher versus Ode Osborne. Not a real strong main card, very top heavy, of course. And a lot of people mentioned that. I think some of the better fights are actually on the prelims. Drew Dober versus Nasrat Haqparast. Tim Elliott versus Askar Askarov. Andre Touchy-Feely versus Sodiq Super Yusuf. Did anybody catch that during the weigh-ins? Andre, has he always had that nickname? I don't think so. I think that's the first time. Andre came down to the nickname Andre Touchy-Feely. Does anybody else find that a little creepy? I'm not sure. But then feature bout, or first bout, whatever direction it is. Maybe it's the first bout. I'm really looking forward to Macy Barber against Roxanne Modafferi, who came down in a great Dragon Ball Z outfit, by the way. You can't help but love Roxanne Modafferi.
For me just to walk
that girl was incredible.
Down and submit him, get a fucking real life, man. We gotta go in there, we gotta fight our asses off. That's what's gotta happen.
I love her. I want to watch. All right, let's throw some more trivia out there, though.
Yes, Connor.
Joe Reel running away.
The fact that you're running your own fight camp.
Running away with this one. But next one up, let's jump back to the boxing world.
My own fight camp, I have many.
And let's jump back to Mr. Iron Mike Tyson.
My coaches and
Went on this show with this famous reporter with Robin Givens, where Robin Givens kind of threw him under the bus, talked about Mike Tyson's temper, and you could tell Mike Tyson was very, very irritated. What reporter was this? It's a female. She had her own show at the time.
Strength side, from the mixed martial arts side, from the boxing side, and it has been truly.
What reporter was this? I believe it was an old CBS show.
Practices 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. and I kept both times. I went to bed at a specific time. I woke up at a specific time. It was as structured as I've ever been. So it has been a phenomenal camp. I've given him my all. You know, I made a promise to my.
When he was married to Robin Givens, and he went on national television on one of the networks, I believe it was CBS. When will Manny retire? Man, I don't know. He's making money, man. He's making money. He's a world champion. He just won another world championship. This guy is fighting amazingly. He's almost fighting like he was at his prime. It's incredible. It's almost like a Bernard Hopkins kind of thing. All right, guys. I don't think you guys are going to get it.
You know, like I said,
I'll throw the question out there one more time, though. Mike Tyson went with Robin Givens on national television before this reporter had her own show back in the 90s. It was either in the late 80s or early 90s. Really threw him under the bus with this reporter. Very famous interview. And that was with Mrs. Barbara Walters. I'll go ahead and let everybody know that it was with Barbara Walters.
That's the beautiful business we're in. So,
all right, back to the two men in the main event, though. The notorious one, Conor McGregor, before he came to the UFC. He was a champ in another organization. What organization did Conor McGregor fight in before he came to the UFC, where he won championships in two different weight classes, and also did not defend either one of those two belts, by the way?
And which one of those two fights would potentially interest you more?
You know, that's an interesting one. What would I be interested in more?
And of course, during this press conference, they're asking Conor, what fight would you be interested in more? Jorge Masvidal, Kamaru Usman, the rematch with Khabib, to be rumored in Russia, of course.
I thought we were robbed of a classic contest there. I thought it was only kicking into gear rounds 4 and 5. But they're both exciting belts. I'd say probably.
And he's talking about the fact that the BMF belt was stopped. That fight was stopped before Nate Diaz was given a chance to finish 4 and 5. I think Jorge Masvidal would have won that regardless.
I mean, I'm interested for both. You know, we'll see what happens. I'm enjoying myself at 170. I'm underweight right now, so I feel good. I feel energetic.
I really do. So the organization that Conor won 2 belts in, Tony will beat Khabib, so there won't be a rematch. I'm starting to lean towards Khabib, guys. Towards Tony over Khabib as well. If I can, I'll probably put some money on there because of the way Tony defends himself off the ground. Strikes off the ground, and I know we're getting off subject a little bit, but thank you for bringing it up. Tony lands those elbows off of his back. And they're fighting in New York, which just stopped a fight between Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal for, an eye that was not very bad. Tony cuts up everybody he fights against. He's bleeding, the other guy's bleeding, everybody's bleeding. If they didn't stop the fight, Nate's eyebrow would be on his eye. But the real thing of it is, though, I've watched a lot of boxing, too. The New York State Athletic Commission stops fights faster than a lot of other commissions. Definitely faster than the Nevada State Athletic Commission, who the UFC basically has in their pocket.
Right, because I'm coming.
Hope Tony beats the leg humper.
We're gonna blow the fucking roof off this.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I'm so excited for this fight.
And Cowboy, I don't know if he sold me on that. He says he stands up and says, "We're gonna blow the roof off this mother."
Real quick, Conor.
I can't tell if he's really that excited or not.
We're here to talk about a fight.
I really can't.
Why do you gotta keep going there?
The rest of the week is fight questions, I promise.
Khabib is overrated, says Stoge Effect 90. All right, nobody got the last question.
About the status of the sexual assault allegations in Ireland.
He answered that yesterday.
I said it was Cage Warriors. The organization that Conor was a champion before the UFC was Cage Warriors. Khabib is overrated. All right, let's throw out another trivia question, guys. Holly Holm, of course, will ever be remembered for that exclamation kick against Ronda Rousey to her head, knocking her unconscious. Who did she lose the title to after that, though? Who defeated Holly Holm to win the title from her after she defeated Ronda Rousey with the head kick knockout? Gleison Tebow won that fight against Khabib. Really? You think so, huh? 7, you are correct. It is. Misha Tate choked her out. Choked her out, sir. And then Amanda Nunes came in and became maybe the greatest female fighter in MMA history. Denise Huey in the house. Good to see you, Denise. Denise, are you pumped? Who do you think wins tomorrow? Is it going to be Conor McGregor, the notorious one, or will it be Cowboy Donald Cerrone?
Godspeed, Australia.
Just quickly on Australia, we've obviously got a new champ.
All right, guys, we don't have as many people as we had in even earlier. And I should have said this earlier. Denise says, Conor, I'm going to take some phone calls, though, from you guys. I want to know not just who you think's going to win the fight, but I want you to tell me why you think they're going to win the fight, or something else. If you want to get my opinion on just about anything.
The rise of Australia, right, is phenomenal. I mean, we've got Israel Adesanya. I know he's a New Zealander, and then we've got Robert Whittaker. So
Let's get it out there. I'm going to put a phone number up on the board that you can call me at. This number is going to be changed by later anyways, so you won't be able to prank call me, sorry. But anybody who wants to call in, the number is 425-791-8730. Wesley Rosh, Misha Tate, you are correct, but 7 already got it from you. A couple in a row there from 7. Let's look. Joe Real came out of the gate, got the 2 of the first 4. Nobody got number 2. Then it was Quincy. Then Scott F comes in. Joe Real with 2 more in a row. Then C the G and a couple for 7. Still got Joe Real up 4,000 points. And if Conor doesn't get a KO, Cowboy's face will be rearranged. Yeah, I agree. I think his cardio is going to fail him. If it goes past halfway through the 4th round, I think his cardio fails. Even though Conor, he says he's in great position at 170, that he's in good condition. He's carrying more weight, and here's the real deal. Here's the truth of the matter. Conor McGregor has incredibly fast twitch muscles. Incredibly fast. I believe that he can really only get a certain amount of cardio for the way that he fights. If he's going to come out fighting 100 miles an hour, I think he can keep that up for about 3.5 rounds. Now, if he can come out and pace himself, we might see a different story there. But I think I think it would be kind of stupid to pace himself because I think he needs to come out like a fireball in that first round when Cowboy Cerrone is known to come in nervous, is known as a slow starter, and as a lot of people have talked about, that maybe even Cowboy should spar for a round or two, full rounds before he comes out. I don't think it's just a looseness, breaking a sweat kind of thing, though. I think a lot of Cowboy's issue with that first round is related to anxiety, much like the Diaz brothers. And you got to realize at different time, every time you go out there, and a fighter can develop anxiety at any moment. Everybody's got a little bit of it. You see George St. Pierre kind of develop it more so later in his career. But you're going out there, you're fighting a man that can kill you. You're basically trying to take him out. You got 10, 12, 15,000 people watching you live, or however many people watching you on television. It's an insane amount of pressure. An insane amount of pressure.
I'm still the same young kid that I always am. Still a passionate young man, and still reaching for the stars.
So, I can't imagine the pressure they're under for the UFC. I fought in boxing years back. I fought in front of about 10,000 people at the Tri-Cities Coliseum. I know I maybe talked about this before, so for those of you that have heard it before, I'm sorry, but the nervousness and anxiety, it was incredible. And I really couldn't, and maybe I didn't try enough, but what I should have done was try to block everybody out. I kind of embraced the moment a little bit. I had friends and family and things there, and I'll tell you, I felt like I was going to throw up the whole time during the first fight of a Tough Man tournament. When I was in judo, we went up, in crowds as much as close to 7,000, but I always concentrated on the opponent. Never really addressed that the crowd was even there, and this, we had to walk. It was similar to, to what the UFC does. Obviously not on that level, but we had the walkout music. We had to walk down through the crowd. Very similar to all this. And judo, you had a lot of other matches going on too. And we have a link to the stream. The fights are not tonight, actually. Still have another day to get that link because this is just the pre-show. I wanted to let everybody know that I am going to start streaming at 3 p.m. Pacific. Tomorrow, 6 p.m. if you're on the East Coast. We have even more trivia questions than what we got right now. Let's throw another trivia question out here real quick, though, for those of you that were paying attention. During the press conference, Conor McGregor, Cowboy Cerrone came out wearing a jacket made of this. Conor asked Cowboy what his jacket was made out of. And what did he say his jacket was made out of? What was Cowboy Cerrone's jacket made out of? Snake? Python. I'm going to go, oh, that's very close. It was a snake. I am going to give it to you because you were close, 7. Joe Real was right on it, though.
January is usually the slowest time of the year for us.
Great job, sir. But that puts 7
Incredible year ever.
at 3,000 points. Joe Real at 4,000. This is tightening up here.
Time off. So to start January like this is awesome. I'm excited for Saturday.
At least between these two, and anybody can jump in with a couple quick questions. Anybody who wants to call in and talk about Conor versus Cerrone, Holly Holm versus Raquel Pennington, Roxanne Modafferi's great Dragon Ball costume, or anything else going on in fighting or MMA, dial in 425-791-8730, and you will be in a direct line live on the show.
And then a question for Conor. In November will be 4 years.
But great job there for 7, and I'm going to throw another trivia question out here now.
No, I don't feel pressure,
All right, guys. This scary heavyweight recently called out Francis Ngannou after stopping Alistair Overeem towards the end of their fight, hitting him with the shot that ripped Alistair Overeem's lip open to a point that Overeem needed several stitches. Who is this fighter?
That's it. Sit back and enjoy.
And I will be very, very liberal with the spelling of this. Very understanding. Wow, 7 gets it right on, though. Jared Rosenstruck. 7. I believe that is, that's pretty close to correct spelling even. 4 in a row for 7. And we have a tie between Joe Real and 7. All right, whichever one of you guys gets the next question right, we're going to end it. Basically, it's whoever gets to 5,000 points first. So somebody else can knock them out, or if one of these guys gets to 5,000, that'll be the end of trivia for tonight. This fighter recently wrote a book, How to Be Happy. They talked about it with Ariel Helwani, who had an autographed an autographed copy of something from this fighter in his office. What fighter wrote a book, How to Be Happy? And that might not even be exact. It's like How to Be Happy or The Art of Being Happy, something like that. But I have mentioned this is one of my favorite fighters. Definitely not a superstar, an underdog coming into their next fight. But always an entertaining, nice person. One of the nicest people, if not the nicest person in all of MMA. Maybe even nicer than George St. Pierre. It is a female. She fought on The Ultimate Fighter. And she has the same amount of knockouts as Macy Barber.
We've never seen the scene with you up here. You're, exchanging smiles with Cowboy. You're being very friendly. So much of your reputation.
She recently called her opponent
Why did you choose to take this approach?
To let her know that there was not a bathtub in the hotel of where they were fighting, so they could both make sure that they made weight. Recently wore a Dragon Ball costume down to the weigh-in for her fight. She wears glasses. She's in her late 30s. Her name rhymes with Mox and Rodaferi.
I can read Donald, I like him a lot. He's a good guy, but I can read Donald like a children's book, to be honest.
And there we go. A cowboy says, I can read Donald like a children's book. So, 7, I'm not going to... Man, I don't know if we should do a tiebreaker on that one, though. Maybe that's worth half a point. That's worth half a point. We got to give Joe B. Real one more chance on that one, if he gets a real one. That'll be your tiebreaker if you guys each end up with 5,000. All right, this fighter has not been able to get back into the cage due to serious bouts with malaria and other things. He has been fighting for the pygmies, people building wells for the pygmies, but he has not been able to fight recently and get back to it due to a string of illnesses that he got through his charity organization that he works for. And I just want to mention something here, and I think I might even have to do a video on it later. Remember, you guys, I told you out on YouTube there was a mark. There was somebody that was a mark. They were a plant from the UFC, and the schmo in the crowd here at UFC 246. I'm rewatching this. Just stood up with a UFC microphone in his hand. I only say he's a plant for the UFC. That conspiracy seems to be confirmed. I don't know if that was an accident or if they came out with that, but it looks as if the schmo is possibly an employee for the UFC. I always wondered how he got close to so many fighters and to Dana. You think I could get an interview with Dana White? He's been doing this less time than me, and I'm not getting near Dana White for an interview. Nobody's interrupting him. Yeah, this guy's... I think the schmo is a mark. He's funny, but I think he's a mark.
Yeah, I'm going to tell him come on with it. You know, that's a no-brainer, but I'm looking for Saturday night, man.
All right, it looks like nobody is going to get that one either. The fighter I was talking about is Justin Wren. Of course, good friend of Joe Rogan, and they donate money from the Cash App for the pygmies in the Congo.
You don't believe that the Tony Khabib fight is actually going to happen coming up in April, and you'd be ready for
And I find this... Who else finds it very interesting that Conor keeps saying that he doesn't believe that the Khabib-Conor fight is going to happen? Or, excuse me, Khabib-Tony fight. And I just called that the Khabib-Conor fight. I hope that wasn't a Freudian slip. That would be horrible. This is a real wood desk, by the way, so...
fight card coming up here in March. There's no main event yet. Things go okay on
All right. No, nobody's going to get that one. Nobody's going to get that one. Let's go
who would that be, you think?
further out. Let's get this over with, I guess. No, I don't want to say get it over with, but
I'm in prime condition. I'm ready to go.
actually, I'm going to throw another one out there that I've mentioned this in the past, but we'll see how much other people pay attention. Body Armor is now the official sponsor, obviously, for water for the UFC. Before Body Armor, I had mentioned this, and we've seen boxers and MMA fighters throughout the year drinking another water. Was never said as a sponsor, but a lot of times you could see the label. Sometimes it was removed. What was this other water company that I had mentioned that you've seen predominantly in the corners of boxers and MMA fighters?
It has nothing to do with any fighting.
Last one for me for Cowboy.
Bottled in the state of California.
Had that press conference with Conor there, and you were kind of excited for going to 155. Now that way, you guys are fighting 170.
A smaller company.
About him now that you did that then?
Oh man, he did everything he said he was gonna do, didn't he? So, any feelings? Yeah, he's fucking great, man. And I'm
All right, that's a pretty tough one. I'll give you guys that one. That was Crystal Geyser. Crystal Geyser water. I picked that up a couple times. It's from the Pacific Northwest. Ends up in the stores over here. I don't know if it's nationwide or not, but I know it comes from California. What's up, Adam from Allen in the house? Hola, amigos. Drunk Adam from Allen here. Good to see you, sir. Congratulations on your victory
yeah, Sam, you feel I would have
in fantasy football.
I'm feeling confident going in here. I'm feeling confident.
Speaking of victory in fantasy football, I defeated, by the way, email me, Adam, at fightsofriends@gmail.com.
In there and remind everyone.
I have a trophy coming your way. Actually, a trophy, and if you don't want a trophy, there'll be a couple other choices. There's a couple other choices that I gave for that.
Well,
So email me over there, and I got something for you, brother.
also, they're both six footers.
But speaking of that fantasy football contest, Wyatt Matheson and Billy Hughes both had a bet against me that whoever came in first, between us three, got to choose songs for the other two to sing on the show. So we got to get that together here quickly.
Conference probably would have went a different way.
Yeah, I don't know about that, Adam.
But,
Well, we'll have to talk about that in private. We can't do that on the stream. Don't think YouTube's real couth on that.
oh man, yeah.
Speaking of outside of the UFC MMA realm, who thinks Jeffrey Epstein's still alive?
This is
I just had to throw that out there.
Fight, the big fight. You never make it on a big fight. Yo, motherfucker, here's the biggest one. Let's see.
All right, let's throw another fight out there. This was probably the biggest fighting game definitely the biggest fighting game up to its point. really the only fighting game that was really playable that was super popular. There were two major fighters. Who was the blonde counterpart to the most popular fighter in this video game? Blonde counterpart to the most popular fighting game, probably in video game history. Definitely up to that point.
Conor sit here and hold himself like he's doing it. This is fucking amazing. You kidding me? I mean, you guys are
I'm good. Don't do it. I'm joking, Adam.
Some bitch are sitting there.
We got you something, though. I definitely got something for you, though.
Go ahead, buddy.
Ocho Cinco here on behalf of Bleacher Report. Hey, this question's for Conor.
And anybody notice for Bleacher Report, Chad Johnson, used to be Chad Johnson, the old receiver Ocho Cinco, in the crowd with a microphone asking questions.
Hey, this question.
And I just noticed he also has a UFC mic, so I guess maybe I was reading too much in. Maybe the smoke's not a plant. Dang it.
Excellent. I'm not a gambling man, but if there was an event where I would bet the house, it would be this Saturday. I want to know before I bet this
He says Blaze.
before I bet this money, how confident are you?
Ask Connor, before I bet this money, how confident are you? Oh, that's hilarious.
The Ultimate Fighting Championship. We're honored to have you, sir. I'm extremely confident.
That is hilarious. Okay, we got to end this trivia game up and end the night as people are getting ready for the events tomorrow. Like I said, we'll start at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. How long did it take for the Notorious Conor McGregor to knock out former featherweight champion Jose Aldo to win the featherweight belt? How long did it take Conor McGregor to knock out Jose Aldo to win the featherweight belt? Is Joe B. Real and 7 still in here? Adam Mellon, 1 punch. How long? What was the time on it? It was not 7 seconds, Quincy. Close, though. Super close, sir. What was the official time? 1 punch, Quincy, 13 seconds. Quincy gets another one in there. You are correct. And you can hear in the background there was quite a few Irish fans at this press conference. As usual, I don't know if they had the the turnout, what the normal turnout was, but a lot of people still supporting the Notorious one, making that long trip. European fans always travel well. And Quincy, that's a few points for Quincy now. I won't count out quiet right now, but at least 2,000 there for Quincy. All right, next question up.
How are you today? Did you have to get up nice and bright and early?
This fighter recently moved over to Bellator. He is the brother of a more famous fighter in the UFC, but this brother in the UFC recently moved over to Bellator from the flyweight division. What fighter was this? You already got it, Quincy. It was 13 seconds. And 7 gets it, Sergio Pettis. You are correct with 5,000 points. 7 with the comeback wins the trivia tonight. Guys, we will have even more trivia tomorrow night. It's going to be a very, very long night. I'm going to get some beer out. I will do a prediction video, though, on who I think will win this fight. Maybe throw a few more in there. Forrest Griffin in the background. If you guys haven't been watching some of the UFC Embedded, I'm watching that in the background right now. You got Forrest Griffin there as Donald Cerrone is getting a massage from a beautiful blonde lady. Great work, 7. Yep. Yes, it was. Good job, Adam. Adam might have got it. He was a little late, though. Appreciate that. Yep. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being patient with me as I hadn't had a show in a very long time. Thank you for all the well wishes as I was recovering from a car accident, finding a new vehicle, and some adjustments at work. Quite a few things going on. I don't want to go into everything, but it's kind of, sometimes it's like when it rains, it pours. You know, some good things that happened during that time as well. So I count my blessings. And I cannot wait until this event tomorrow, UFC 246, the return of Conor McGregor taking on Donald Cowboy Cerrone. As always, I love you, I respect you, and I'll see your fine asses later.